We are in the midst of a heat wave here in Thailand. It's been pretty brutal. Normally temperatures in the summertime here during sort of April, it gets into the late 30s, sometimes the early 40s, but the last couple of weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, it's been over 40 every single day. That's measured in the shade in our outside kitchen, not in the sun. I'm avoiding the sun, I'm avoiding being anywhere near the heat in the heat of the day. It's early morning now, but I thought I'd come for a bit of a walk down the back here to the canal that is completely dry. In the 6 years that we've been here, I don't think I've ever seen it as dry as this. There's usually a trickle at least of water in the hot season, but it's completely gone. It's just not there at all. So I thought I'd go for a bit of a walk down the canal. I kind of know where it goes, but I just thought it would be really interesting exercise. I come down here, you might have seen if you've watched some of my bamboo videos. Came down here a while ago harvesting some bamboo. Looks like there's been cows down here or buffalo down here. But it is just absolutely completely dry. That's where the bamboo came from. There's not much there at the moment. There's a lovely big clump of it just here, or 2 clumps of it here, but these have been there a long time and have been really kind of hacked back, and it's just a bit of a mess. I've tried to harvest some of it, but it's too difficult, it's too tangled up in there. So, but I just thought, you know, the canals here are such an integral part of the agricultural process. They need it. They need to be able to move the water around. Here's something interesting. You've got a what do you crap? Nam nít nồi nè. Điều này mami nam nè. Thì này thăm ra mi nam talk to one. Don't pump nè. And there's one of our neighbours there. He's set this PVC pipe up. There's a pond back there. There's not much water in it at the moment. That pond has usually always got water because it's like a really low part of the valley, but he's pumping it up to his longan fruit, to the lamyai fruit there. So it is just crazy dry here at the moment. But it's, yeah, this canal, I don't know how long the canal system's been in place, but one of the neighbours told me a while ago that they had someone come in a number of years ago when I think they first moved here to this village, which I think from memory they said was during the Second World War, and they just wanted to be away from the Japanese who were coming through into the north a bit, so they came out towards the mountain and you know, worked on farming and getting water from the mountains, and so developed these canal systems that run all around, all through this area. And this one just, entangled up in the bamboo there. This one here just wraps around the contour of the hill. This is the back end here of our neighbour's section. And it just kind of rolls around. And like, as I said, normally this has got water in it all year. Sometimes it's just a trickle, but during the rainy season, it can be a really strong current. There's a lot of water in here in the rainy season, but they manage it well. Oh, look at that. There's a lime tree here. A few limes on there. Just noticed one on the ground. But it's, yeah, like I said, it's necessary, particularly for the rice and for the lamyai. Both these crops use a lot of water, and they need a lot of water. And so it's been such an important part of their day-to-day activity, is being able to manage the water supply. And there's a canal. This canal here is at the bottom of our section. There's another canal that runs along the road at the top of our section, and I guess they go to 2 different places. But all along the way there are openings and means for the farmers to be able to access the water and to make use of it to irrigate their rice fields and they're lumio trees. I don't know what that was in there. I think it was probably a lizard. I'm just fairly aware that coming down here, it's a nice little cool area, and yeah, a few critters and creatures around, and probably a few snakes, and that's what I'm really looking out for. But I've become reasonably accustomed to hearing the type of movement. I'm pretty sure that back there was a lizard rather than a snake. But yeah, it's dry as anything, and there obviously hasn't been any water along here for a while because the grass is just growing and overtaking it. So this is now back around to one of the other areas. I've done quite a bit of drone footage down here during the rice growing season when it looks really beautiful, but at the moment it's just barren and dry. We're just waiting for that rain to come. It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be fantastic when it does, but until the clouds form and the heavens open, we're just stuck with this dryness. There's no concrete or anything on these canals. Some of them are well concreted, some of them are well looked after, and I think hopefully within too long they'll be concreting the canals that run both at the top of our section and this one here, which will help them save a huge amount of water, because the seepage when the canals are running is quite significant. We notice it a lot on our section. When there's water in the canal at the top of our section, there's a few patches of land on our property that are very, very low and just wet all the time. But now that the water in the canal hasn't been running, those areas are completely dry. So it's directly related to the seepage that comes from the canal. So we're hoping before long that they will seal it, and we won't have this problem with soggy land in a few places. And it will also conserve the water a lot when the canal's concreted, so they won't lose that amount to seepage. And that'll be through here, because I'm walking along here, it's like quite grassy, but it's also the grass is growing on sand, so this, when the canal's running, it's just bringing more rough sand down here, but it also means that the water will seep through it. There's nothing really holding it into place and to prevent it just seeping into the ground and draining away. So if they can seal it, then they're going to get a greater percentage of the water that's actually going to be beneficial and come and water their crops for them. So I'm going to try a little experiment later on today. I've laid a tile. We had a leftover tile from when we did our kitchen bench tops, and it's black. So I've laid it out in the sun. I'm just going to let it sit there during the day, and later on I'm going to see if I can fry an egg on it, because I reckon it's hot enough to fry an egg in this heat. I'm certainly noticing it, I'm certainly feeling it. I'm walking along at a reasonable pace for 10 minutes or so, and I'm just sweating. This is normal life in Thailand. I'll be finish my wander, finish my little bit of a walk, and then I will be going back inside, having a shower, and sitting at my computer doing some editing with the air conditioning turned on. But even at this time of the year, it struggles to really cool the room down. It's only a small office space, but it is pretty harsh because it's just so hot outside. And having the trees have grown up in our garden nicely, so that's providing a lot more shade to our home than it was earlier. This time 5-6 years ago there was nothing shading our home, and it was incredibly hot, but thankfully we planted some pretty fast growing trees, and we've managed to shade a lot of the house, or especially the downstairs area. That we don't, the upstairs is our bedroom, so when we go up there in the evening it's still really hot, but the sun's gone, and then we turn the air on an hour or so before we go to bed, so it's nice and cool and livable. But I've really been noticing it this year. It's hotter than ever. I remember it. My wife's saying the same thing. Of course, it's in the news every day. But it's quite draining. So we're sort of trying to conserve our energy, trying to stay in the shade as much as possible. I probably should be wearing a hat. I'd actually brought it down with me and left it sitting there, unfortunately. But there you go. It's not so bad today. It's a little bit of fine cloud, a little bit of thin cloud up there, so it's actually not as hot as it has been. So here's another part of the irrigation system. Somebody's plumbed in this big fat piece of PVC pipe. The water actually comes down here through here from the canal as well. Now this is the other canal that runs at the top of our section and along the road here, so it is managed quite well. And then you can see here there's another PVC pipe system that provides water from, actually I'm not sure if it's the same reservoir as the canal or another one, but at this time of the season when there's so little water, the canal's not running, but it's restricted to this PVC pipe that runs along here. So we don't make use of that. We did when we first got here, but we don't really need it because the water for our garden, we could use the canal water when it's running with this other pipe, but we use one of the other water sources that's available to us. So this is a vacant piece of land that somebody's bought and started to put a couple of buildings, a bathroom and stuff. I think they're going to do a camping thing here, and they've dug a pond. And this is usually full, but there's no water in there at the moment, just incredibly dry. So that's just the way it is. But thankfully we have other water sources. The water that comes into our house is from a bore, from a well underground, and that's the cleanest water. It's a little bit more expensive than the water that comes from other sources in the reservoirs, but it's nice and clean. Not clean enough to drink, but clean enough to wash our dishes and wash our bodies and do our laundry, stuff like that. And then the other water source, we've got two other tanks, although we've got two tanks for the inside water and one tank that we use to bring in water for our garden, and that also comes from a reservoir up on the mountain. So it's not as clean, but it's certainly good enough, clean enough and abundant enough to water our garden. Although we were told just recently, in the last couple of days, one of the guys that helps manage the water said that the reservoir up on the mountain for our garden water is getting pretty low, and that if it doesn't rain in the next month we might be down to water rationing. So we'll have to wait and see about that, and then hopefully within the next month or so, it's now the beginning of May, and we're just hanging out for it to rain, so hopefully we'll get some rain before too long. Because this is the canal running along at the top of our section. Now the weeds still grow okay, even though there's no water, but it's just dry as anything. There's not a lot going down there, but people are still out, still taking care of the land, trying to do what they can, like my neighbour down the back, trying to pump the water, what little water there is in that pond. I have heard the pump running down there for quite a few days, but it's just tough. But it is really extremely hot this year. It's unprecedentedly hot. It's not been like this. I've been here for 22 years in Thailand and I've never known it to be this hot. during the dry season. But there it is, you know, the canal behind us. This little section here, we've actually lined it with polythene because just to help to stop that seepage when the water is running, to stop the seepage coming into our section, and it's worked really well, so it's not as wet as it has been in the past. But hopefully we'll get some rain soon. So there's just another little bit of an insight into where we live and how we live in rural northern Thailand. I can see my wife down there with the hose in her hand watering the garden. This is something we do. It's our morning ritual at the moment. I do a certain amount, she does a certain amount, and we just keep everything living. Well, that's the aim. I hope you've enjoyed this little walk around the neighbourhood a bit more. If you're interested in other aspects of living in northern Thailand, please check out this video here. Thanks for watching, and if you're new to our channel, click that subscribe button. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like. Cheers.